Alright, so let's take a look at using and creating masks inside of Premiere. Now this also works pretty much the exact same way inside of After Effects, and it has the same idea behind it that the masks inside of Photoshop have. It's just a little bit different. So first off, when we're looking at creating masks inside of Premiere, first thing we want to do is make sure that our footage is both the correct size with our sequence settings, and that we have our layers here set up correctly for making a mask. So what I want to do is I actually want to take this footage of him yelling at this other guy and line them up so that they're happening at the same time. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move both my audio track and my video track up or down a layer respectively, so that when I shift them so that they're overlapping, I don't accidentally erase or overwrite both of those pieces of footage. Then I'm going to make sure that I mute both layers because I really don't want the audio for this tutorial. And I'm just going to make sure that I line up the spots of this footage that I want to. So I'm just going to cut a little bit of this footage, remove some things here. So that these are the same length, so that they happen at the same time. Now, I'm going to make a mask on this top video here, but the first thing I also want to make sure of is that this bottom footage is the correct size. Now, I purposefully scaled this down, so I'm just going to grab this bottom corner and scale this up just a little bit, so that when these are overlapping, they'll be about the same size. I won't have to worry about any weird perspective changes. So next what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this top footage just to make sure that's what is selected, not my bottom footage. If I put a mask on my bottom footage, I won't see it. So I have my top footage, this man here, selected. Now in my opacity layer here of my effects controls, there's 3 different buttons I can choose to create a mask. There is a circle or ellipse, there's a 4-point polygon or square, and a pen or free draw Bezier tool. You'll hear me kind of refer to them as those or similar terms throughout this video. So if I just click my soft Bezier mask, it'll automatically create me a mask. Now, this is great for a couple of reasons. It's automatically going to create a perfectly shaped ellipse for me that I can then select these points on and draw to change how they fit and how they work to make the shape I want. This little outer circle here is my feather, so I can make a softer or harder mask. So currently, the more feather you have, which you can see over here on the left, the more feather I have, the softer that edge. The less feather I have, the harder that edge. Now, if you do like I do and click away and you're like, oh no, my mask disappeared, you can just click on your footage and then just click the words mask 1 or 2 or 3 depending on what number mask you're on, and it'll reselect. So I'm just going to make my mask a little bit more feathered, and I can also move this mask in space, which is pretty nice. I can keyframe it as well, so if I want it to start a little further back with the center of his ear, not sure why I would pick that, but that's okay. I can click this little stopwatch to toggle the animation on my mask path, click my mask again, move on my time slider, and then move my mask. And it'll automatically make a keyframe. So I can then move it over here, so maybe my mask shifts all the way across my screen. Nice and subtle. I'm going to erase that path. It'll ask if you're sure. I am, so I'm going to erase that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click my mask. I'm going to move that so it's just on his face. And you can also change the opacity. So maybe I want it to start with it being completely opaque. I can't see anything at all. I can keyframe that opacity, go a little ways in, and take that back up to 100. So now I have a full-fledged visible mask. So now it's almost as though I have a transition where he pops in. So that is pretty cool. I'm just going to erase this mask. Now something else that's very popular when using masks is to use this square rectangle 4-point polygon. I am going to make sure that I can see outside of my box here, and I'm actually just going to move the position of my video to be a little bit closer to this edge. I'm going to hide that with my eyeball, click my lower guy here, and I'm going to do the same thing but in the opposite. I'm going to move him a little closer to this far left side. So what'll happen when I turn that back on is it'll look like they're kind of next to each other in footage. So let's give our top guy here another click, and I'm just going to click this create point. Now, I am just going to drag these points all the way so that they're just a little bit over the edge of my footage. Just like so. So now when I click away, I have a almost perfect half and half video. Now, if I really want to make sure it's half and half, I can kind of come in here, I can add a guide, put it right directly in the middle, drag this so that it fits, if I really wanted to. If you don't see these guides, you can come up here to view and just show rulers and guides. Now, because of how this mask is working, I'm going to make sure I have no feather. It does automatically give you a 10% feather. So I'm just going to remove that, and now I have two parts of my footage playing side by side, which is pretty nice. Now let's say I wanted to have both of these and maybe a third playing. I could definitely still do that. So let's say I take this top footage again. I'm going to click my mask so I can see all of my edges, and I'm just going to delete that mask. Now, I'm not going to drag in a third clip, but I will show you how it would kind of look. So I'm going to draw this free Bezier tool. This is a very nice rotoscope-like method. So let's say I want the outside of my body here to be what is visible. Maybe I don't want to see anything but our guy. Now I'm making this very loose because I'm going to feather out this mask. So I now have our head. I'm going to make sure that I keyframe my mask path. I'm going to go to the beginning, click my path, move all of my little points here, making sure that I'm not grabbing my little arrows. And there. So now I have this secondary mask here. When I scrub through, it'll kind of change and morph over time. I might have to go through and manually fix a couple of the spots, or use the keyframe editor to kind of fix things. But overall, it'll give us a pretty close result. Now, if you can't, for some reason, just click on a keyframe, you can always try alt clicking. Sometimes that will fix some problems. And if you need to add a new point, you can always add a new point anytime. So you can see just by clicking, I am adding some new spots. I might have to fix my little curves. It's okay, this one doesn't have to be perfect. So if I play it through, I'll get something that looks a little bit like that. Not too bad, could use a little bit of work. Maybe somewhere between these two keyframes, I need to take this one, pull it a little closer, like so. Now if I come in here, and now I change my mask feather, open that up a little bit. Still not the best, definitely needs a little bit of work and time to play with, but you can start to see how this would work. So now, if I wanted to take him and change his rotation or anchor point position, I could do that. So if I wanted to move him so that he's closer to the edge, maybe I take our bottom mesh here, or bottom video, move it back over to its original spot. We could do this with as many different masks and layers as we want. And that is a really simple way to create masks inside of Premiere. And it works exactly the same in After Effects. I will see you guys in my next video.